204 cars would show up to the LaCrosse Fairgrounds Speedway and make up the largest entry list of any race in FARC history. And 120 of them would qualify and be split up between the 4 quarterfinal rounds. Rick Forrest went out during the first of 10 group qualifying sessions and sat on top of the boards the whole day. He will lead the field to the green in quarterfinal A. Mark Thompson qualified 4th in quarterfinal A. He has shown up this weekend, funding the 98 team out of his own pocket for this race. His points rival, Billy Ray Smith Thompson, will start 8th in quarterfinal B. The lineup for the FARC Low Dollar Series finale has always been more diverse than most races, and with 120 cars racing today, we have no shortage of that. Among the starters are a number of regulars from the FARC Super Series and FARC Truck Series, as well as several invaders from the TM Master Cup Series, including LaCoya teammates Kurt Pliskin and Greg Woodard, Joe Olenek, and the very colorful Brazilian Gabriel Macena. And as always, there are a ton of unknown names mixed in as well. Mostly short trackers from across the country who have built or purchased their own FARC cars and come to take on the regulars. And so far, the best of these teams in particular has been Joey Camel in the 23X, who took the pole for quarterfinal C. He regularly competes at Bowman Gray Stadium in North Carolina. And now we go trackside at the LaCrosse Fairgrounds Speedway to kick off the Smash Beer Oktoberfest Nationals. The green flag flies, and Rick Forrest jumps ahead of Melissa Whitley, opening up about a 2-car length lead as Tim Ruiz attacks the 662. Rick Forrest trying to make the most of his 3rd front row start of the year, but he has yet to translate that into a large number of laps led as he immediately comes under attack from Ruiz in the 212, who has done just about everything in his 2 years in the FARC Low Dollar Series except win a race. He's done a lot with a little regardless, but we've got a crash in the back. John Dilks got into the back of Danica Hollifield and sweeps up into traffic, getting taken out by the 27 of Richard Scott. John Dilks, the TM Master Cup Series regular here in the number 68, the 2nd Master Sport racing car. It's the first time in forever that team's brought their 2nd car to the track. Monica Rook's got a lot of momentum at the very end of this season after finishing 2nd to her teammate Megan Gallagher last week in Chicago. She now takes 2nd from Melissa Whitley, and Rick Forrest, unfortunately, nowhere to be seen in the top 5. He's fallen way back. John Dilks is shrugging off that initial wreck. He's coming back up through the field, taking 22nd place from Carter Fitzgerald in the 26F now. 2nd place changes hands once again. Michaela Perry-Jones, who started all the way back in 18th, takes that spot from Monica Rook now. Perry-Jones leads the Rookie of the Year standings, and she's definitely been one of the most impressive rookies of 2018, grabbing that win at Nelson Ledges, a very dominant win. And she's definitely got one of the fastest cars on the track as she now comes after Tim Ruiz for the lead, coming to lap number 25, quarter of the way through this race. Perry-Jones and her occasional teammate over at the Ike Durbin team, Joshua Pacer, have definitely elevated that team with their wins this year. But now Perry-Jones has some lapped traffic to deal with. They're coming up on the 14B of Skylar Braden. You see the little message on the back of his car, "Watch out, future racing legend." But the 14-year-old who received that race car as a birthday gift has a lot of work to do to live up to that. And now we've got our first casualty of the race. Allison Smith in the number 427A blows up after running in 12th, one of the transfer spots. And she's got a lot of trouble getting that car to the inside, but does so, makes it back to the pit lane without incident. After negotiating with the lapped car of Skylar Braden, Tim Ruiz has held the lead for a few laps, continuing to do so, despite having Michaela Perry-Jones behind him, driving very aggressively, trying to get that lead back. Ruiz really stepping up his defense game as he continues to chase his first win, but Michaela Perry-Jones gets the better of him, coming into turn 3 on lap 31, coming to 32, and takes the lead back. I'd say that was only a matter of time, but now we're starting to get into heavier laps traffic as this green flag run goes on. Nathan Ormond making his debut in the number 240 car, getting in the way now, but Perry Jones shot to the outside, did not allow Ruiz to have the advantage this time by. Unfortunately, it has not been a good start for Mark Thompson as he now goes a lap down, running all the way back in 17th after qualifying inside the top 5. Obviously, Mark Thompson, the Ron Oil executive, has lost that sponsorship after the tragic oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico, but he has shown up funding this team out of his own pocket, and on the hood of that car, he has the names of everybody on the Walker Texas Racing team. Mark Thompson showing his deep gratitude for Walker Texas Racing for giving him the opportunity to go for the championship this weekend, but he is struggling right now. Chuck Johnson in the number 46 is not doing much better. Third in points coming into this weekend, and he's struggling with Ben McClellan to maintain a transfer spot. Without scoring a win this season, Johnson is in a much more dire position than Mark Thompson, as he is not locked into the next rounds, and now Michaela Perry-Jones gives him the boot as she tries to put him a lap down, and he washes back up into Tim Ruiz, taking him out of the second spot and bringing out our second caution of the day just past halfway. The day goes from bad to worse for Chuck Johnson, and Tim Ruiz was obviously having a great run. The entire field will pit under this caution. With these quarterfinals only being 100 laps each, fuel is not a concern, but tires are. Michaela Perry-Jones leads the field in and leads them out again. Still leading on the restart, Tim Ruiz managed to hang on to second during that cycle of pit stops, but that's Hunter Blaze taking second from him now, and we've got a car spinning in the back, and another immediate caution. Look at Chuck Johnson. He's gonna beat everybody to the line and get back onto the lead lap. So Chuck Johnson has an immediate stroke of good luck after getting into that wreck with a very quick third yellow. And Danica Hollifield's been getting knocked around by people all day. This time it's Clay Cooper in the 82cc, the modified driver from the East Coast, getting into the back of her, sending her into the infield. But we've got a much bigger wreck coming back to the caution. 4 wide does not work. That's Zachary Zins, Andrea Kinasa, and Kyun Chung Lee all going into the wall. And Chung Lee is going to get the worst of this, the Korean driver making her debut this weekend, along with a lot of the other one-offs. And she's going to take that car behind the wall. And Michaela Perry-Jones has a problem under this caution. Coming to the restart, in fact, she may have run over some debris from that big accident in turn 4, and she's going to give up the lead. Coming to the green flag, that's Hunter Blaze up front now. He made that move for second on Tim Ruiz on the last restart, looking for his second career win, but that's John Dilks washing up into him, and hard into the wall they go. Drivers are scrambling to get out of the way. I don't think a whole lot of other cars got caught up in that, but that's the end of the race for John Dilks, who was a lap down. Looking at it from another angle, that's Zachary Zins spinning off to the inside, and I believe he's going to go out of the race from that impact with the inside wall as well. A few other cars got back onto the lead lap. Mark Thompson has made that car much faster ever since that round of pit stops, and Tyler Thaber in the 899, making his Low Dollar Series debut, is going to follow him back onto the lead lap as well. This puts Tim Ruiz back into the lead with that heavily damaged back end, but that's Melissa Whitley coming after him for the lead. Nathan Ormond in the 241, trying to get back onto the lead lap. I mistakenly said he was in the 240 car, but Whitley takes the lead, coming back to yet another caution. All hell breaking loose in this second half of the race, it seems. Hunter Blaze getting involved in another one, and Zachary Zins got turned. I said he got taken out in that last wreck, but that's not the case. Oh, that's how he goes out of the race. He smacks into that tire pile in turn 4 that protects the opening in the wall there. And that looks to be J.A. Devon in the 28 JD car that got into the back of the 999. That's one of the many entries into this race that picked up funding from investor Jim Darcy. But on the restart, Riley Durbin has found some speed, and he's getting by the 212 for second now, with a couple of lapped cars in between him and Melissa Whitley. That's Clay Cooper and, again, Nathan Ormond. But now 5th place, Donnie Ashcroft is going to get taken out by Richard Scott, a lapped car, and Chuck Johnson gets involved in another one. After getting back onto the lead lap, Tony Long in the 51, also a lap down, was involved as well. The caution would come out once again, and during the yellow, Monica Rook was running in 8th, but the engine on the 22 car lets go, and Monica Rook's championship weekend comes to an end, and this has to make her teammate Megan Gallagher very nervous. Gallagher will start on the pole for quarterfinal D. More shenanigans for Richard Scott on the restart. He, Tyler Faber, and Carl Hampton all go into the wall after the restart, and this does not bring out the yellow. It looks like the officials are sick of throwing the yellow in this race, and this crash happened towards the back anyway. Everybody got going again. No caution as we get down to the last 15 laps. Back up front, Melissa Whitley continues to lead, with Riley Durbin a few car lengths behind her, and Nathan Ormond not making her life easy as he tries to get back onto the lead lap. Clay Cooper running in between Riley Durbin and 3rd placed Tim Ruiz. Melissa Whitley is making her first start in the Lowe Dollar Series this weekend, driving one of 2 additional cars fielded by Dave Hetzel this weekend. Whitley has driven for Hetzel in the FARC Super Series since last year. She got 2 wins in 2017, but we don't believe that Whitley will return to that team next year. But she might be impressing another team owner out there today as she holds off Riley Durbin to take her first Lowe Dollar Series victory in her first start. And what an impressive comeback for Mark Thompson and Chuck Johnson as they charge back into the top 5, but they can't quite get around Tim Ruiz for 3rd. Carrie Fenton would finish 6th, matching her best career finish that she grabbed at Nelson Ledges. Meanwhile, Carter Fitzgerald and Tyler Faber were 2 of the drivers who went a lap down early on but came back. They grabbed 7th and 8th respectively. Rick Forrest sat on the pole, but led only 1 lap before falling through the field and settling into the lower top 10. He finishes a solid 9th place, but he probably wishes he could have done better. And rounding out the top 10 on debut would be J.A. Devon in the 28 JD, again one of the many entries generously sponsored by Jim Darcy. Moving on to quarterfinal B, Aaron Coltier is on pole with Truman Ellison on his outside. Aaron Coltier gets the jump just like Rick Forrest did in the last race, but that's Patrick Ashcroft in the 939 car, who started 3rd but is really holding up that inside. Poor start for Ashcroft, and it looks like Aaron Coltier is going to be off to a much stronger start than Rick Forrest in the last race. Truman Ellison settles into 2nd. Alyssa Helms trying to make it 3 wide on the backstretch against Mike Malone, getting very aggressive into turn 3. And that causes a 4-car crash that involves Billy Ray Smith-Thompson in the 42. 2nd in points coming into this race, and the 90K of Carrie Ennisberg, making her debut this weekend, sits stalled in turn 3. She's going to go out of the race. She'll be the only casualty of this lap 3 accident. But here comes Truman Ellison. He's got a run on the 13 of Coltier, coming back to the yellow. Anthony Griffith and Thomas Kohler, 3rd and 4th, as the leaders take the caution. But that was a very aggressive move from Alyssa Helms in the 240, which puts Billy Ray Smith-Thompson and Mike Malone in a hole. After the restart, here is Dave Hetzel in the number 661, car owner of Melissa Whitley, quarterfinal A winner. I wonder if he's rethinking not bringing her back for next year, but he's got his own work to do, running in 10th right now, trying to fend off Mason Yokoyama. Alyssa Helms is still in a hurry to get to the front of the field, even after causing that 4-car wreck. Alyssa Helms has made her way up to 3rd. She caught Aaron Coltier about 10 laps ago, and to her credit, she's been much nicer to Coltier than she was to Mike Malone at the start of the race. The 14-year-old sister of Truck Series champion Archer Helms moves into 2nd, and she's been fast herself, winning her Truck Series debut earlier in the year. Sergei Akovsky entered this weekend on a high note after finally grabbing his first top 10 of the year at Chicago, but that hasn't translated into speed this weekend, as he just went a lap down to Truman Ellison and is battling for 24th with Gordon Newell in the HL3 car there. Kurt Pliskin, another one of the Master Cup Series stars here this weekend, is not faring much better as he struggles in 19th place, with Truman Ellison bearing down on him pretty soon. This is the second year in a row that Pliskin has entered the FARC Low Dollar Series finale alongside his Master Cup teammate Greg Woodard, who will be in a later race. But now we've got another caution as Liam Keenan in the minus 26 car, all the way from Barrow, Alaska, gets turned around by 5th place Thomas Kohler, and John Bennett in the 580 car from the Truck Series was also involved, and Thomas Kohler gets him too, coming back to the caution. I'm not sure what's with that rampage Thomas Kohler just went on, but it's not doing his top 5 run any good. The entire field would make their routine stops under that caution. Truman Ellison continues to lead over Alyssa Helms, but she's gonna look to make a move for the lead as Daryl Quick in the 882 from the Super Truck Series gets around the 03 to get back onto the lead lap, and Alyssa Helms makes her move entering turn 3. She's going to have the preferred line, and Alyssa Helms will move into the lead. Truman Ellison trying as hard as he can to hang on around that outside. Anthony Griffith in the 7. Lurking back there in 3rd, pole sitter Aaron Coltier is 4th. That's one of the Doppelgang cars a lap down. You may have seen one car go careening through the infield grass. Dave Hetzel and Alfred Jones get into the turn 2 wall. Vinny Devine in the 89V goes shooting through the grass, taking Ryan Walker and AJ Canton into the wall with him, but this happened in the very back of the field, so no caution is going to come out. Devine was running 15th, the last transfer spot, but we'd get a caution a little bit later as John Bennett and Bo Vine go into the wall and get turned around on the backstretch. Coming back to the caution, Truman Ellison gets a little contact from Grant Carsons and goes hard into the wall. Ellison had dropped back to 4th, and this is going to take Ellison out of the race. Now, Ellison isn't done for the weekend yet. He is locked into the next round thanks to his win at the Carl Superstore in Jonesboro, but he is going to have to go to a backup car. On the restart, Anthony Griffith in the 7 comes after Alyssa Helms for the lead. Aaron Coltier is looking to make a comeback as he takes 3rd and gets by the 240 as well, back into the 2nd spot. Anthony Griffith is still looking for his first win in his return to FARC competition this year. Aaron Coltier is looking for his first career win, and we got another crash in the back. That's Liam Keenan in the minus 26 going around again, this time at the hands of Bo Vine in the 242, but he doesn't hit anything and comes back onto the track. I'm sure Liam Keenan is not happy about making the trip all the way from Alaska just to be knocked around all day. Oh, and we got another wreck after the caution. That's Xander Massey in the 94, who's gone into the wall in the 3rd M&J car. And after the restart, Billy Ray Smith-Thompson runs into more trouble. He's made it all the way back up to 11th, but he tangles with Dave Hetzel and gets turned around once again. These are some mishaps that Smith-Thompson really cannot afford, as his points rival Mark Thompson just finished 4th in the last race. And after taking the caution, Vinny Devine and Dave Hetzel get into yet another accident as they go into the turn 1 wall. And that appears to be Super Series regular Tim Burkhalter also involved. A lot of these guys are having trouble getting themselves sorted out after taking the yellow flag. Mason Yokoyama was running very quietly in the top 5. He had made his way up there, but now his car has gone up in smoke. Yokoyama has made 2 previous starts this season, and he's dropped out from both of them, including the season opener where he won the pole. Before that caution, Aaron Coltier took the lead away from Anthony Griffith, and he drives away from the field on the restart as we get into the last third of this race. But we would have another restart And another accident as what Ryan Walker and Patrick Ashcroft get together off of turn 2. And that's Billy Ray Smith-Thompson, who was just smashed into the 303 of Ryan Bolden. And that will be the end of Billy Ray Smith-Thompson's race. Now he is locked into the next 2 rounds, and this team does have backup cars, but Smith-Thompson is in a very big hole entering the semifinals. And after the next restart, Ryan Walker gets into Tim Burkhalter, and these two knuckleheads crash in turn 3. Would you believe that with all this crashing, and with a lot of these people who have crashed multiple times, only 4 cars are out of the race so far? Billy Ray Smith-Thompson was the last one, and now the leaders have gotten into a wreck. Anthony Griffith and Grant Carsons have gone into the wall, and that's another 3 cars going up into the turn 3 wall. Xander Massey, Sergey Yakovsky, and Gordon Newell, as well as Mike Malone in the 5, who got caught up in that. Malone had made his way back up into 8th after getting wrecked at the start of the race by Alyssa Helms, but he's going to take that car behind the wall and rely on his provisional for the next round. Meanwhile, we've finally gotten a clean restart, and Aaron Coultier is driven away from the field, taking the white flag well ahead of Grant Carsons. Aaron Coultier's debut in 2017 ended with him going upside down, but today he's got one of the few undamaged cars, and he will take his first career FARC Low Dollar Series victory right after Melissa Whitley does so. It's been a very good day for some of these drivers who have not won yet, but Grant Carsons, back in second place, is going to have to wait a little while longer for his. Anthony Griffith would soldier on after hitting the wall along with Grant Carsons, and he would take third. The battle for fourth would come down to Thomas Kohler and Kurt Pliskin, who really recovered after the start of the race, and Kohler holds off Pliskin for that spot. Alyssa Helms fell back in the second half of the race, but would hang on to 6th place in her Low Dollar Series debut. 7th place would belong to Alfred Jones, who drives for John Dilks in the FARC Super Series, but made his debut this weekend with the brand new team Turf War Racing in the 21 car. His fellow Super Series competitor Carson Crompton in the 224 would finish behind him in 8th. Dave Hetzel survived several accidents to finish in 9th place. And rounding out the top 10 in a photo finish for that spot with Daryl Quick would be Brandon Crasta. Halfway through the quarterfinals, and now we're all hoping for a cleaner race this time around, as it is debutant Joey Campbell, the Bowman Gray Stadium regular, on the pole over last year's Rockford 200 winner Jim Kidd. And he's off to about a 5-car length lead, but we've got trouble on lap 1 already. I spoke too soon. Oh, that's Packer Carroll and Dan Lecklider getting together. Not terribly surprising about Packer Carroll, and that puts Gabriel Messena, another one of our TM Master Cup Series regulars, in the wall. And everybody's scrambling off of turn 4, and that inevitably causes a wreck. That puts Roger Stevens in the wall in the number 76Y, the third of the Mason Yokoyama-owned cars. And that was Scott Dowlitz in the 3X, making his return to the series, getting into the back of him. On the restart, Mo Lester gets a little too personal with Tommy Winovich, and that's Aaron Singer plowing into the 08B. Singer finally makes his first start in a points race this season, only to get taken out on lap 11. Oh, and that's Marv Allen in the 333 car that's found those tires in turn 4. He goes out as well. On the restart, Jim Kidd comes under attack from Jonathan Douglas in the 2JD car, another one of the Jim Darcy-sponsored cars. Packer Carroll tries to follow that car, and if Jonathan Douglas knows much about FARC racing, he'd probably be very nervous having that 71 behind him right now. But Douglas settles into second and looks to chase down the 23X of Joey Campbell. Kelly Splicenson's been having some good runs lately, but she's not off to a great start today as she gets turned around by Alex Constantine and brings out another caution. Jim Kidd is in trouble as he had to pit coming to the restart, and he's going to fall a lap down, and with no victories this season, he will have no provisionals to fall back on, trying to get into the semifinals. It's very surprising that Power Surge America has yet to win this season after they've been a dominant team over the past few years. Meanwhile, Joey Camel is in trouble as well, pulling into the pits for an unscheduled stop. It's going to be a flat tire bringing Joey Camel down pit road and down a lap. Meanwhile, this hands the lead over to Jonathan Douglas, and Jim Kidd is all over the back of him, down to the inside, as he tries to get back onto the lead lap and get himself out of that hole as soon as possible. Fortunately for Kidd, he is still fast after that problem that brought him into the pits on the last caution. Scott Dalitz goes up in smoke, which is appropriate considering his sponsor is a vape shop. But Dalitz was running well outside of transfer spot in this first third of the race, so it was a tall order for him to join his brother Noah in the semifinals. Meanwhile, Packer Carroll isn't done wrecking people as he gets into the back of Joey Camel after he goes a lap down, but Camel gets him back into turn 3. So, bad day. This gets worse for Joey Camel after he started on the pole. The entire field pitted during this caution, except for Ruslan Bashimov and Jim Kidd, who made unscheduled stops earlier. Bashimov in the second Rus Autosport car started this race in last. He got into the Oktoberfest Nationals by the skin of his teeth, as he's made a habit of doing so this season. And he's stayed out for track position, but that's not working out too well for him so far as he gets swallowed up by the field. Jim Kidd goes into the lead, and that's Rit Tyler in the 16. Moving into second, but we've got a crash. Roger Stevens involved in another one, and this time he's gone upside down. Kevin Monroe and Liam O'Connor in the third Power Surge America car are also involved. On the restart, the remaining 2 Power Surge cars are now 1-2, but Rit Tyler is now coming under attack from Jonathan Douglas. He wants to get that lead back. That's Jeffrey Jackson in the 05 running 4th, and Kenny George in 5th. But now Daniel Leckleiter has made his way back into 4th. Todd Stater joining him in the top 5 a few laps later. Leckleiter's been fast after pit stops, but he's getting boxed in behind the 2JD and the 16. And he's not looking too patient, moving to the inside of Douglas and causing a wreck off of turn 2 involving Rip Tyler and Todd Stater. That's a lot of damage to the front end of that 66 car. Joe Olenek in the 23 car gets through, though, without any contact. Todd Stater pits, but he will return to the race after the crew gets that hood chopped off. On the restart, Jonathan Douglas decides it would just be smart to let Dan Leckleiter go and not risk getting wrecked again, but Leckleiter slows down. And entering turn 3, he's headed into the pits. So, I guess some instant karmic retribution is going to take Dan Leckleiter into the pit lane. Flat tire for the 10 car. Maybe the tire rub after that contact with the 2JD that first time. But Jonathan Douglas is not going to secure second place, as here comes Joe Olenek to take it away from him. Joe Olenek among the TM Master Cup Series invaders this weekend, but he does have a handful of FARC starts dating back to 2012 to 2013, so this is a return to the series for him as well. Gabriel Messena makes his way back up into 5th, but he slows down on track now, and cars are scrambling to avoid him on all sides, but he gets turned around by Tommy Winovich. Ruslan Bashimov avoids him, only to pile into those tires in turn 4. So Ruslan Bashimov went to the back of the field after his pit stop gamble didn't work, and now he goes out of the race. Messena will make it into the pits and back onto the track, but the battle for the lead is between Jim Kidd and Joe Olenek, who takes it away pretty easily. Jonathan Douglas now on the inside of the 18 for second place. Jim Kidd might be fading after pitting earlier, but now we've got a multi-car accident off of turn 2 involving Kenny George, Gabriel Messena, and pole sitter Joey Camel, among others. What a disappointment for Messena and Camel, who were each having their great runs, but had their issues that led them into this mess. But we wouldn't be done wrecking. 3 cars going into the wall off of turn 2 after the restart. Julia Ashcroft goes for a wild ride. That was Kenny George and Rodney Cahill in the 53 RK car also involved. Kelly Splicen and Kevin Monroe got a piece of that too. And under this caution, Jonathan Douglas is going to have to give up second to pit with a mechanical problem. But he will return to the track, and because we have so few cars still running, he will restart in a transfer spot regardless, so this is not much of a problem for him after all. Meanwhile, Joe Olenek tries to drive away with under 10 laps to go, as the battle for second is now between Rip Tyler and Aubrey Wood in the 313 car, who made her last start at Berlin in Michigan. But with just 3 laps to go, we got a wreck between Marissa Rains and Jonathan Douglas, who just ran over her on the backstretch. But these two are going to continue on, and the race will end under yellow. And it's going to be Joe Olenek, the TM Master Cup Series regular, returning to the FARC Low Dollar Series and taking his first FARC win. Aubrey Wood would hold off Rip Tyler for second, coming back to that caution. Jim Kidd faded during the second half of the race on older tires than everyone else, but he didn't fade much as he hangs on to fourth with Jeffer Jackson fifth. Sixth place would go to Alex Constantine in the P1 car, who had a pretty quiet race aside from his incident with Kelly Splicen. Packer Carroll would run into quite a bit of trouble during this race, but he still finished 7th in his battered car. He will be the only representative of Gravity Racing in the semifinals after his protege Hunter Blaze failed to qualify in quarterfinal B. Kevin Monroe would finish in 8th despite being involved in 2 of the more severe accidents during the race. Todd Stater finishes 9th in his hoodless car. He would hang back and stay out of all of the remaining trouble to pick up a transfer spot. And rounding out the top 10, recovering from her earlier spin to continue her streak of good finishes towards the end of this season, would be Kelly Splicen. We have an interesting development regarding Dan Leckleiter, who finished in 16th. This would normally put him outside of a transfer spot, but he was the very last car to cross the finish line, so he will receive one of the wildcard spots by default. And because we have no provisionals from this race, the remaining 2 wildcard spots that would have been used for this race will instead be used in quarterfinal D. Moving on to quarterfinal D, it's Megan Gallagher following up very nicely on her Chicago Vic with the pole. Although she's struggling against Woody Watts at the start, Woody Watts making his FARC Low Dollar Series debut, and what a comeback story he's had over the past few years. And it's going to be Watts inching ahead around the outside to lead the first lap. Megan Gallagher appears to be struggling right now. And Gallagher does appear to have some kind of problem as she's dropped back to 10th after the first 5 laps. Then again, this isn't really new for Big Mac Racing to struggle at the beginning of the race and then come back to finish strong, because that's exactly what they did last week. But we've got trouble on the backstretch as Jay Johnson gets into the back of Clayton Farmer and they crash in turn 3. Stanley Parsons, making his first start of the year, very quickly comes to an end as he slams into the 865 car. Stanley Parsons was a series regular a couple years ago, but his comeback is not going to amount to much. Bobby Porteau blows up under this caution, the Super Series champion, but he does have a provisional to fall back on as long as he has a spare motor for that car. After the restart, Eric Cardona tries to take 2 spots at once for the lead, and he does it, taking it from Kyler Spavital and Woody Watts. Kyler Spavital has improved quite a lot since the last time we saw him in FARC Racing. He was really struggling a couple years ago to get up to speed, but now he runs 3rd. But Eric Cardona now drives away from the field. But we've got another caution as 3 wide doesn't work between Beck Blumiere, Kenny Brillen, and I can't quite make out who that 3rd car is. It's Clayton Farmer again. So Farmer involved in both of our first 2 cautions. Under this yellow, Don Wilson has blown up after running in 13th, one of the transfer spots. So a lot of blown engines and casualties early on. Clayton Farmer still getting into trouble as he causes a multi-car accident, running real slow and all over the place after the restart. This crash would involve Aiden Shepard, Phyllis Theodore, and Nick Azure. Eric Cardona has some competition on this restart from Barry Henry Jr., driving one of the 3 00 cars in this race. But Henry Jr. almost gets taken out by Kyler Spavital, who challenges him for the lead. 3 wide with Kyler Spavital now, and they come back to what turns out to be the 4th caution, with Barry Henry Jr. coming out on top. That was pretty fun to watch, even though it may be a little bit early for that. And it looks like the yellow is for Tom Briggs Jr. getting into the back of Pierre Sebastian and sending him into the wall. And Zach Webster in the 41 just barely grazed the 19. After the restart, Kyler Spavital comes after Barry Henry Jr. for the lead, but immediately slows down off of turn 2. And the race goes south for one of the fastest cars on the track. Kyler Spavital trying to redeem himself this weekend. Falls out of contention, but Tommy Bombwell in the 3rd 00 car gets turned around by Nick Azure, bringing out another caution. As Barry Henry Jr. gets away from the field, Woody Watts comes back after making adjustments during that round of pit stops and challenges Eric Cardona for 2nd. Kyler Spavital is back on the track, but multiple laps down. Woody Watts moves into 2nd, trying to hold all these guys off now. Joshua Pacer and Ryan Matthews are also in the picture. But again, they're all chasing Barry Henry Jr., who continues to drive away in his very first FARC race. Joshua Pacer has found a little bit more speed and challenges Woody Watts for the 2nd spot. Pacer has a win this season already, but that came with the Ike Durbin team, but he's closing out the season in the Jones Sport 88, a car he also scored a victory in, and that came all the way back in 2016. But behind these guys, Megan Gallagher is charging back through the field. The Big Mac Racing team once again demonstrates that they really know how to adjust a car as the race goes on, and she's reeling in the rest of the leaders. Woody Watts gets shuffled back to 4th, but now he gets tagged by Nick Azure, who has been on an absolute rampage today. He goes flying through the infield back onto the track, taking Azure and Harry Essenola with him. And a great FARC debut for Woody Watts turns sour as he now has a pretty damaged car to work with. Clayton Farmer is still on the track and still getting in the way as Ivan Barnes gets into the back of him off of turn 2, setting off another multi-car wreck. Beck Blumier comes piling in. Woody Watts gets involved in another incident, but the only cars dropping out would be Beck Blumier and Nick Duthry, who you saw go into the wall at the front of that. And after making her way up into 5th place, Alexa Lake blows up under caution. She was trying to bring Master Sport Racing into the semifinals after John Dilks had a pretty dismal race. But hopefully that team will try to return next year after they've had a pretty wild 2018. After the restart, Megan Gallagher continues her march forward, taking on Joshua Pacer for the 2nd spot. The lapped car of Kyler Spavital in between them and race leader Barry Henry Jr. But Henry Jr. suddenly slows, and that's going to hand the lead to Joshua Pacer as we take another caution, and Kyler Spavital's going to get one of his laps back. That's got to be gut-wrenching for Barry Henry Jr. after dominating for so long. And once again, it's Clayton Farmer and Ivan Barnes getting together, causing a wreck down in turn 1, once again involving Harry Essenola and Pierre Sebastian. That's a lot of smoke coming from the 2 car. Enola is done for this race, but he's got the win at Talladega, so he has a provisional and a backup car to fall back on. Joshua Pacer continues to lead with Megan Gallagher and Ryan Matthews giving chase. This is the battle for 4th, currently led by Aiden Shepard. He's just barely ahead of Samantha Mason in the 13B. Teammate to future racing legend Skylar Braden, who was never a factor in the first quarterfinal. As we approach 20 laps to go, Nick Azure is coming back through the field after being involved in multiple accidents that he caused. but he seems to have calmed down a little as he tries to chase down that battle for fourth along with Eric Cardona and Melissa Plord, returning after that huge accident in last year's Rockford 200. This has been the cleanest last leg of all of our races today. We're down to 6 laps to go, and Joshua Pacer is hitting some traffic, trying to negotiate with the lapped car of Archer Helms, the FARC Truck Series champion, and here comes Megan Gallagher. Joshua Pacer thought about defending that, but it would have just gotten him turned around. Gallagher doesn't have a very big run off of turn 4, but it helps that Archer Helms is letting her go on the inside, and it looks like he's finally going to do the same for Pacer. But now it's Megan Gallagher's turn to try to put somebody a lap down, and this time it's Phyllis Theodore in the 404. She's not making her life easy. Pacer setting up the 52, and he's going to return the favor, taking the inside away from Gallagher and getting by the lapped car of Theodore very easily. Pacer reclaims the lead with 4 laps to go, and Megan Gallagher now finds herself in her teammate's position from last week, chasing the leader, as Joshua Pacer now comes across Tommy Baumwell, but it doesn't matter. Joshua Pacer claims another win for Jones Sport, and his second of the season. Ryan Matthews was never a factor for the win, but he finishes in 3rd, the same spot as his Team Thunder teammate Anthony Griffith. Samantha Mason took 4th place from Aiden Shepard in the final laps and held onto it. Nick Azure would finish in 6th. Eric Cardona finally has a race go right for him this season as he holds off Melissa Plord for 7th. 9th place would go to Zach Webster despite having some minor damage from a couple incidents. I'm not sure if that hurt him as he couldn't get further towards the front, but that's still a very solid finish in a season of struggles for him. Tom Briggs Jr., another one of the drivers making his debut today, also didn't have a perfectly clean race, but he would round out the top 10. Mark Thompson's 4th place finish in quarterfinal A gives him a 107-point lead over Billy Ray Smith Thompson, giving the 42 team a lot of work to do in addition to preparing his backup car. Chuck Johnson finished just behind Mark Thompson in his race and lost a little bit of ground thanks to that. Joshua Pacer leapfrogs into 7th place with his victory, with Riley Durbin following him into 8th. Daniel Lechlater fell out of the top 10, but he got very lucky with all of the attrition in his race, giving him a free pass into the next round. Zach Webster rounds out the top 15 heading into the semifinals, being bumped back there by Rip Tyler. Stay tuned for the 2 semifinal rounds, which will feature bigger fields and higher stakes, as only Mark Thompson and Billy Ray Smith Thompson will have provisionals available to them for the final round. And as always, you'll be able to catch all the action right here on the FARC Racing Network.